My son surprised us with 30 relatives. What we discovered when we opened the door was amazing. Clara's heart raced as the doorbell rang incessantly. A moment of fleeting panic turned into a wave of confusion and joy. Today was supposed to be a simple celebration for Ethan's 10th birthday, an intimate gathering with a homemade cake and a few balloons. Instead, she was about to face a tidal wave of family, a sight she hadn't imagined. She opened the door, and suddenly, 30 relatives poured into her home like a vibrant river, bustling with laughter and chatter. Today, she thought, everything was about to change. Ethan could barely contain his glee. He loved his family, and today was a fresh start to bring them all together. Clara, tired but beaming, moved through the collective sea of faces, hugging and greeting people she hadn't seen in years. Turns out, Ethan had taken it upon himself to reach out to everyone, sending invites across state lines. Clara had felt overwhelmed for weeks, just working 2 jobs to make ends meet, struggling to set the perfect mood for the party. But Ethan's innocent effort cranked up the stakes. Even as smiles greeted Clara, the energy shifted, old tensions rippled through the crowd. A cousin whispered something that set another relative off, sparking heated debates about past grievances. Stories from times long gone flooded the room, tinged with laughter and bitterness. Grandma's famous casserole bubbled in the oven, yet no one noticed its aroma amidst the din of arguments. Voices rose higher. A mother cried over her tangled memories with her sister. An uncle slammed his hand on the table, sending forks clattering to the floor. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue with Ethan struggling to hold back tears. Clara felt the weight of the moment crash against her like a wave. She took a breath, wishing to blend the chaos into something meaningful. This was her family, flawed, messy, but undeniably hers. Everyone, let us take a moment, Clara called out, her voice steady above the clamor. These stories, they're our legacy. We can't change the past, but we can shape the future. Let us share what we've learned about resilience and sacrifice. A hush fell over the room, shadows of unease mingled with hints of curiosity. Slowly, walls began to crumble, a story from their childhood drew laughter, and soon heart-wrenching confessions surfaced. An aunt spoke of lost dreams and forgiveness, while a cousin finally voiced feelings of exclusion that had festered for too long. Tears sparkled in Clara's eyes. They stood at the brink of either repairing or shattering their bonds. Raw honesty filled the room, twisting through emotions like vines. Clara felt her chest tighten. This was their moment. Could they choose understanding, or would old resentments trip them up once more? As the tension thickened, she glimpsed a newfound glimmer of hope in each of them, a potential to rewrite their shared narrative. But the question loomed larger than life: could she guide them towards healing, or would they be imprisoned by the weight of their troubled past? Clara felt the air shift as the hush settled over the room. What had started as a birthday celebration was transforming into a family reckoning. She took a deep breath, sensing the fragile thread that connected them all, each family member hanging on the edge of vulnerability. One by one, amidst the chaos, they began to share. Uncle Jake, the fierce protector of family traditions, stood first. "Remember the summer we camped at Lake Arrowhead?" he said, his voice cracking slightly. Laughter erupted, bright and sure, painting over the earlier tension. "We spent 3 hours trying to figure out how to start that fire. And Clara, I think you almost set my pants on fire with that first spark." Clara laughed but felt a pang of regret. She had always been at the center of family stories, yet so many years had passed since they made fresh memories together. She wanted to weave bonds anew but felt a heaviness as old wounds lingered, waiting to be aired. Aunt Beth, who had been sitting quietly, suddenly stood up. You know, we always just push things under the rug, but that doesn't make them disappear. Her voice rang with conviction, drawing the room's attention. I've felt neglected for so long, like my voice doesn't matter. I want you all to hear me. Clara's heart raced. Would they drown in pain, or would they rise together? The room felt electric, alive with their shared honesty. Relatives exchanged uncertain glances, but Clara could see them unconsciously inching closer together, as if drawn by an invisible tether. Just 3 days ago, I thought I was doing just fine, Sarah, Ethan's cousin, spoke up, her cheeks glistening with unshed tears. But I've been holding on to anger about Mom not being here anymore. The truth is, I need all of you. We're stronger together, aren't we? Clara could feel the weight of Sarah's words hanging in the air. Everyone nodded in agreement. An unwavering understanding began to form among them, like a shared vow to trust each other a little more. This was the renewal they desperately needed. Then Ethan, standing small and hopeful amongst the whirlwind of emotions, piped up. I just wanted everyone to be happy, he said, his eyes wide with sincerity. I didn't think we had to keep holding on to sadness. His innocence struck everyone like a thunderbolt. Clara reached for him, pulling him close, her heart swelling with pride. As laughter and tears intertwined, two cousins, once at odds over family feuds, shook hands, their smiles signaling the healing that was beginning to blossom. Cousins hugged tightly, whispering apologies, pledging to start anew. Clara soaked it all in. These were still her people, and she could finally see the threads weaving them back together. But just as Clara felt sure the tide was turning, Aunt Beth raised her hand, her expression serious. Before we go any further, there's something we really need to address, something that could change everything for our family. Clara's heart dropped. What could possibly shake this newfound connection? Whispers floated around the room, curiosity piqued. Did they dare to confront the ghosts of their past? As Aunt Beth took a deep breath, it was clear they were on the brink of another revelation, one that had the potential to either reinforce their bonds or tear them apart. What was going to come to light, and would they be able to handle it when it did? Aunt Beth's gaze swept over the room, piercing through the layers of laughter and emotion, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. I've held this back for too long, she began tentatively. It's about your mother, Clara. The room shifted. Clara's breath caught in her throat. A knot formed in her stomach. She had spent years avoiding conversations about her mother's choices and the reasons she walked away from the family. What do you mean? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I never meant to keep this from you, Aunt Beth continued, her tone somber. But the truth is, she didn't just leave. There was more complications, misunderstandings, things you don't know. Clara couldn't look away from her aunt. She felt the weight of all the possible truths hanging in the air, and she was terrified of what that might mean for her family. What if the stories they had told themselves were all wrong? Complications? Jake echoed, confusion crossing his brow. What does that even mean? Years ago, before Clara was born, your mother was dealing with more than just a family she felt disconnected from, Beth said, her voice cracking slightly. She loved someone else, someone outside of this family. It was a secret we all thought was for the best. The room began to buzz with murmurs. Faces turned sharply towards Aunt Beth, eyes narrowing with questions. Clara felt as if the ground had shifted beneath her. What do you mean? She demanded, the tremor in her voice betraying her feelings. Who? But Aunt Beth shook her head, her eyes filled with sorrow. I can't say. What you all need to understand is that she never stopped loving you. But she felt trapped, and made choices she thought would protect you from pain. Clara felt stunned. The woman she had thought she understood was someone she didn't even know. Her mind raced with images of her mother. How could she hold deep love for Clara while still feeling the need to leave? The familial warmth from earlier was evaporating, replaced by tension and swirling doubts. Sarah carefully reached for Clara's hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. It reminded her that despite the revelation, they were still there for one another. Ethan stood up, his small voice breaking through. "Is she coming back?" he asked. "Maybe we can talk to her. I want to meet her. I want our family whole." Clara's heart sank further. Could a simple phone call change everything? But what if it only brought more heartache? "That's not for us to decide," Uncle Jake said firmly, his features hardening. "What matters is whether we can show support. If that's what she needs, then we have to be ready." "But how can we move forward when we don't even know the truth?" Clara asked, feeling the weight of her own uncertainty. Aunt Beth took a deep breath again, as if gathering strength. "We don't need all the answers right now. Sometimes, it's about trusting that we can face whatever comes next, together." The room fell silent, reflecting the shifting dynamics within the family, uncertainty swirling with hope. Clara looked at each face around her, years of love tangled with years of pain, wondering how they would navigate the next steps of this uncharted territory. Just then, the doorbell rang again, breaking the charged atmosphere. Clara's heart raced, caught between fear and curiosity. "What now?" she mumbled, unsure if she was prepared for more surprises. With a glance around the room, they shared a collective breath. Clara opened the door, her heart thundering in her chest, and what she saw made her freeze. There stood a figure from her past, someone she hadn't expected to see ever again. "Hello, Clara," the figure said with an enigmatic smile, sending chills down her spine. Who was this person, and what secrets did they carry? Clara stood frozen in the doorway, heart pounding against her ribs. The face before her was both familiar and foreign. It was Michelle, her childhood friend, the one who had moved away years ago. The shock of seeing her brought back a flood of memories, sun-soaked afternoons spent playing in the park, laughter echoing through long summer days. But there was something in Michelle's expression now. That smile was tinged with a seriousness that suddenly anchored Clara's swirling emotions. "Michelle? What are you doing here?" Clara finally managed to stammer, taking a hesitant step back, feeling exposed and vulnerable. "I didn't know if I should come, but I just found out about what's happened with your family. I thought maybe I could help," Michelle said gently, her voice softening. "I've been thinking about you all these years." Her words hung in the air like a thin mist. Clara's mind raced. Help? How could she help when Clara herself felt so lost? She felt the heaviness creeping back in like a wave of doubt. "Clara, I know it's a lot," Michelle continued, her eyes searching Clara's face. "I just thought if anyone could shed some light on your mom's decisions, it might be me." "I owe you that much." Clara's stomach twisted. Michelle had once known the whole story. The secrets that were whispered among their parents when they thought the children weren't listening. "How? What do you know?" Michelle stepped inside the house, the warmth of the family gathering contrasting sharply with the tension that Clara felt. Behind her, Aunt Beth, Jake, Sarah, and Ethan watched, their expressions a mix of confusion and concern. "I never wanted to stir up old wounds, but your mom was different back then. She was faced with choices no one could fully understand." Michelle paused, her gaze drifting for a moment as if she could see Clara's past played out behind her eyes. There were things about her love life that went beyond just feelings. There were sacrifices and loss. Every word felt like a pin piercing Clara's heart. "Loss? What do you mean?" She barely recognized her own voice, trembling as she sought the truth that had been cloaked in shadows for so many years. "There was a man, someone very special to her," Michelle replied, the sorrow in her tone palpable. "He was a part of our lives before everything fell apart. When you were just a little girl, she had to choose between him and your family. It tore her apart." "Mom never spoke of him," Clara said, clenching her fists. "All I ever heard was silence, disappearing memories because it hurt too much." Michelle stepped closer, her eyes sincere. "Your mother didn't leave because she didn't love you. It was much more complicated. I wish I had the right words." Clara's heart was a battleground. Caught between the stories she'd always known and the new revelations stirring inside her. Could it be that love was both the cause of separation and a thread binding them together again? Clara, it's important for you to understand, Michelle continued hesitantly. You have to consider reaching out to her again. There's healing to be found in the truth, no matter how painful it is. The room was steeped in silence, each family member contemplating the gravity of what Michelle had shared. Clara felt her world tilt again. Trusting Michelle with this newfound clarity felt risky, but she couldn't deny the flicker of hope that began to ignite within her. As Clara turned to face her family, a commotion erupted outside. Voices and laughter, spilling into their world from the open door, drowned out by enthusiastic exclamations. "What is happening?" Aunt Beth asked, glancing toward Clara. "We have company," Clara replied, her pulse quickening again as she opened the door wider. But the moment she looked outside, her breath caught in her throat. There stood a crowd of unfamiliar faces, family she had never met before, each one smiling expectantly. "Surprise!" they shouted, a wave of energy washing over them. Clara felt a rush of excitement mixed with dread. Who were all these people? And what did their arrival mean for her family? Steeped in secrets? As the crowd spilled into the room, so did the possibilities. An unexpected family reunion was unfolding, but would it bring more answers, or simply deeper complications? She couldn't shake the feeling that the real surprises were only just beginning. Clara took a step back, the sudden surge of faces overwhelming her senses. She felt a mix of emotions swell within her, like the tide rolling in curiosity, fear, and hope all fought for her attention. The strangers surged into her home, chatting and smiling as if they belonged there. She glanced at her family, their expressions mirroring her own confusion. "Who are these people?" Sarah whispered to Clara, her brow furrowed while glancing at the throng. "I have no idea," Clara muttered, unsure whether to feel excitement or apprehension. "Let us find out." Ethan piped up, stepping past Clara and into the growing crowd. His usual enthusiasm was contagious, but Clara stood rooted to her spot. "Mom?" Jake's voice cut through the noise, seeking Aunt Beth. "Do you know them?" Aunt Beth shook her head, bewilderment clouding her eyes. "I have no clue. They could be distant relatives, but why would they just show up like this?" As they moved further into their house, the newcomers seemed to take over, filling every corner with laughter and chatter. Clara felt the walls closing in, the air thickening as anxiety gripped her chest. "Hey, Clara." A woman with warm brown eyes and curly hair approached with a wide smile. "I'm Lydia. Your mom's cousin." Clara blinked, struggling to reconcile the information with having a family member she'd never heard of. "Cousin?" "Yes. Your mother never mentioned me?" "I just had to come when I heard about your family. It's a tough time, but we're all here for you." Lydia's sincerity touched Clara, but she felt lost among the chaos. "Thanks." Clara struggled with her words, trying to absorb it all. "But why now?" "It's family tradition." Another voice chimed in, a man with a booming laugh and a hearty grip. "We're here to help, celebrate, and remember. Come on. No time for sad faces. Let's get the music going." Music blasted through the air, nearly drowning out Clara's inner turmoil. The sound was jarring yet familiar, invoking memories of family gatherings from her childhood. She tried to tune it out, but the energy around her was palpable. "Clara." Michelle's voice pulled her back to the moment. "You okay?" "I don't know what to think," Clara admitted, her emotions swirling like the autumn leaves strewn across the ground outside. The sight of so many smiling faces made her heart ache for the bonds she felt she had lost. "Why didn't Mom tell me about this?" "Maybe she thought you needed time. Sometimes, family gets lost in the chaos of life." Michelle leaned in closer, gentler now. "Don't let this moment slip through your fingers. They could hold answers." Clara paused, the lively noise bustling around her suddenly dimming to a hushed murmur. As she looked around at the fire of joy igniting the room, she felt an ember of hope. What if these people were keys to unlocking secrets about her mother? What if they could help her understand what had truly happened long ago? But as she reached for the idea, a flicker of doubt surged inside her. Could she confront the past? Could she navigate this maze of unfamiliar faces and conflicting emotions? She felt a tapping on her shoulder. Turning, she faced Lydia once more. Listen, Clara, I know this is a lot. But family is about embracing all parts of our story. It's messy, but it's real. Tears pricked Clara's eyes. I just want to know. Then let us start asking questions. Lydia beamed brightly, offering her a refreshing light amidst the confusion. As the crowd danced and celebrated, Clara took a deep breath and stepped forward. The clamor continued around her, but a sudden stillness surrounded her, like standing before a doorway open to new possibilities. What secrets lay just beneath the surface of this unexpected family gathering? Would she be brave enough to uncover them? As Clara gathered her courage, she felt the pull of the past wrapping around her like an embrace, the truth drawing her in with an undeniable force. All right, she whispered to herself and to the strangers now becoming family. Let us find out what all this means. But deep down, uncertainty gnawed at her. Would the answers bring her closer to her mom or push them further apart? Clara took a hesitant step forward, the music filling her ears like a distant memory. But as she scanned the crowd, her heart raced with uncertainty. Faces danced around her, each one carrying a piece of a puzzle she didn't yet understand. Lydia was right there beside her, a welcoming smile etched across her face. Come on. Let us introduce you to everyone, Lydia said, enthusiasm bubbling in her voice like the effervescent drinks populating the tables. Okay, Clara replied, the word feeling heavy on her tongue. She felt an odd mix of pressure and curiosity guiding her, almost like an invisible hand leading her deeper into the web of her family's history. They walked toward a small cluster of people dancing near the kitchen. Laughter erupted from a group of women, their curls and laughter bursting with joy like autumn leaves against the crisp air. Clara found herself smiling back, though a question lingered just beneath the surface. Why were they here? As they approached, an older woman with a kind gaze caught Clara's attention. You must be Clara, she exclaimed, arms wide open. I'm Aunt Betty. Your mom and I used to play together all the time. Clara's breath caught in her throat. Wait, you knew my mom? Of course. Aunt Betty's face lit up with the warmth of cherished memories. She was wild. Always the one to sneak cookies before dinner. A soft laugh escaped Clara's lips, the kind that felt bittersweet. Wild? She murmured, imagining her mother as a child, unapologetically free. Just like you. I can see that spark in your eyes, Aunt Betty replied, as she took Clara's hands in hers, grounding her amidst the flurry of voices around them. The warmth of familial connection surged within Clara. There was comfort in Aunt Betty's presence, something that felt reassuringly familiar despite the maze of unknowns. I guess I didn't realize how much family could mean, Clara admitted, vulnerability slipping from her lips like a secret. Family is everything, Aunt Betty said softly. Especially in hard times. We're here to share our stories. You'll see. Suddenly, a man with a thick beard and hearty laughter joined the circle, clapping Clara on the back. And don't worry, Clara. We're a lot of fun too. His laughter echoed through the room, reverberating with a sense of camaraderie that pulled Clara in deeper. Everyone's been talking about your mom, he added, his voice dropping slightly. We want to honor her the best way we know how. With love. And stories. Clara's heart fluttered at the mention of her mother, longing to hear those untold tales that had quietly shaped her life. What stories? She asked, the sparks of excitement igniting curiosity within her. Before he could respond, another cousin jumped in, taking charge. Let us gather everyone. We can share some memories. Clara, you should be in the center. This is your moment. As the gathering shifted to form a circle, Clara's earlier apprehension morphed into eager anticipation. The spotlight was on her now, the chatter dripping with affection and warmth, coaxing her to listen. Clara could see familiar faces in her family, from those with familiar traits to total strangers, and yet they all felt like pieces of a puzzle that shaped her identity. Before long, soft stories crashed into vibrant anecdotes, weaving a tapestry Clara had never witnessed. As the tales unfolded, they painted a portrait of her mother as a fiercely loving woman, playful, creative, and deeply connected to her roots. Yet, amidst the joy of connection, the remnants of doubt still clung to Clara's heart. As she soaked in the laughter and the love, a question gnawed at the edges of her mind. What had her mother hidden? What secrets lingered beneath the joyous stories? In that moment of joy, she realized she wanted answers. Can you tell me more about her? Clara voiced softly, surprising herself at her boldness. A hush fell over the group, but it was more the weight of unspoken words than the silence of their hearts. Clara's pulse quickened. Would they share the truth? As they shifted and glanced among each other, she felt it a surge of doubts, fears, and looming secrets. She could almost hear the chatter of her heart echo, unsure of what revelations were yet to come. Let's dive deeper, she whispered to herself, fueled by uncertainty but driven by need. What were they all afraid to tell her? What truths were buried beneath the laughter? Aunt Betty stepped forward, her expression shifting to one of contemplation. Clara could see the flicker of memory in her eyes, as if searching for the right story to share. The room held its breath, and a sense of gravity settled over the group. Your mother was a bit of a rebel in her youth, you know? Her words cracked the silence, and the tension began to dissolve, replaced by a flurry of murmurs and nods. She loved to paint and dance, often sneaking away to explore the world beyond our little town. I remember one time Clara leaned in, her heart racing with curiosity. She wanted to hear everything. The laughter, the mischief, the life that her mother had lived before settling down in routine. What about her and my dad? Clara dared to ask, her voice steady despite the rapid beating of her heart. The crowd shifted slightly, glancing at one another as if sharing a silent agreement. A younger cousin, tall with bright blue eyes, spoke up. He was smitten with her, that much is clear. But sometimes their love was complicated. Clara's breath hitched at the word complicated. That had been the word whispered around her own home as a child, always hinting at a story too painful to tell. She felt the weight of her family's eyes on her, a mixture of sympathy and encouragement urging her to dig deeper. Tell me, she insisted softly, her palms growing clammy and her pulse quickening. Please. As if sensing her determination, Aunt Betty nodded, continuing. Your mother had dreams, Clara. Dreams that sometimes conflicted with what others expected of her. But those dreams were beautiful. They lit up her spirit. Did she regret any of it? Clara whispered, her heart amplifying the vulnerability in the question. The room was heavy with silence once more. Aunt Betty exchanged a glance with the tall cousin who cleared his throat. It's easy to regret the path not taken, he said carefully. But your mom never really gave up on her passions, just placed them in a box to keep them safe. She loved fiercely, maybe even foolishly, but that was part of who she was. Each word landed like a soft thud in Clara's chest. Torn between pride and sadness, she could picture her mother in those moments, dreamy, passionate, a wild spirit caged. And yet, there was more they weren't saying. And the secrets? Clara pressed, her voice trembling just the slightest. Why did she hide them? A cousin with dark curls, who had been mostly silent, turned to Clara with a serious look. Secrets don't always come from a place of shame. Sometimes they're protective. She wanted to shield you from the weight of her choices, the fallout from her dreams. Clara felt her heart constrict. Was she just a shadow in her mother's story, piecing together fragments of a life that had bloomed beautifully but also fell apart? Each family member felt a mix of concern and empathy toward Clara, with shadows of doubt flickering across their faces. The warmth that had wrapped around Clara began to feel heavy, a blanket pressed too tightly. She wanted to dive headfirst into the truth yet was terrified by what she might find. What if I can't handle it? She thought, her mind racing. The energy in the room flickered, a collective breath hanging around her. Sometimes the truth hurts, Clara, Aunt Betty said gently. But it can also set you free. As her words echoed in Clara's mind, every eye turned to her, waiting for her response. Some looked hopeful, others wary. Clara took a deep breath, heart hammering louder than the music, wondering if she was ready for whatever revelation awaited her. Will you help me find it? She finally asked, her words small but solid, demanding to be heard. But just as Aunt Betty opened her mouth to respond, the door swung wide, and someone new appeared, bringing a rush of cold air and an unexpected tension. There was something in their demeanor, a look that suggested they bore news that might change everything. Clara's stomach dropped as she locked eyes with the newcomer, a dread creeping into her bones. What had she just invited into her life? The newcomer stood still for a moment, framed in the doorway like a character out of a story that Clara was yet to fully understand. They wore a long coat, the kind that seemed to weigh heavy with untold narratives. It was a face Clara recognized but couldn't place. A wave of confusion washed over her family, whispers filled the air, punctuated by nervous glances. Emily, the newcomer, finally spoke, their voice breaking into the hushed room. Clara's heart raced as memories teased at the edge of her mind. It was her mother's old friend from high school, a name Clara had often heard in passing but never truly known. Emily's presence now bore a peculiar weight. What are you doing here? Aunt Betty broke the spell, her voice tight as she moved to stand in front of Clara, protective. Emily stepped further into the room, her eyes dark and serious, yet they held a glimmer of hope. I didn't mean to disrupt, but there's something that needs to be said. The tension thickened, pressing against Clara's chest. Something about my mother? Clara asked, unable to keep the tremor from her voice. Yes, Clara. It's about the secrets, the ones she hid from you and all of us. But first, can we talk somewhere private? Panic and curiosity warred within Clara. The suffocating weight of all the unanswered questions pressed down. She could see the uncertainty flicker in her family's eyes, some still hopeful, others uncertain about what this new revelation would entail. Aunt Betty's posture relaxed slightly, sensing Clara's need for answers. Okay, Clara said, her voice steadying. She gestured toward the living room, the largest space free from the pressing crowd. In moments, Clara found herself leading Emily through the gathering, each step feeling like a leap into the unknown. The room's energy seemed to shift behind her, blending concern with intrigue. As they sat down on the couch, Clara's heart thumped louder. What do you know? What did my mother keep from me? Emily took a deep breath, folding her hands in her lap. Your mother loved fiercely, Clara. But in her love, she made choices that led to things she thought might hurt you. She was afraid. Afraid of what? Clara's voice rose, filled with urgency. Of losing you. Of the legacy she thought might weigh too heavily on your heart, Emily whispered, her eyes becoming glassy. Your mother made sacrifices. Sacrifices that sometimes felt like betrayal. Clara's mind spun. The images she had conjured of her mother's vibrant past began to shift. Torn between the ghost of a wild spirit and the reality of a woman molded into expectations, she felt a sickening churn of emotions. You mean I've been living a lie? No. Not a lie, Emily soothed, shaking her head. More like an untold story. One that can show you who your mother truly was and who she hoped you would become. 1,000 questions fluttered through Clara's mind like butterflies, some beautiful, some haunting. What happened? Why didn't she ever tell me? I can't share everything here, you need to hear it from the source. It will take time, but you deserve to know. Clara felt her heart wobble in her chest, splitting between the yearning for clarity and the fear of what it might bring. Bring her back, please. If you can. she blurted out, the desperation spilling over. Emily's expression grew painfully soft. I can't bring her back, but I can help you uncover the truth she left behind. Clara bit her lip, the weight of the situation crashing around her like waves pulling her under. The family waited just outside, and the reunion turned fragile. Would she be strong enough to face the truth about her mother, no matter how deep the secrets ran? In that moment, Clara understood she was standing on the brink of something much larger, a journey that could reshape her understanding of family, identity, and love itself. As the thoughts swirled, she felt the heaviness of choice bear down on her. The walls around her mother's past screened to be explored. Okay, she agreed, exhaling slowly, but you have to promise me we won't stop until we know everything. Emily nodded, a solemn promise unspoken yet understood. Just then, footsteps echoed from the room behind them. Aunt Betty peered through the doorway, her expression grave. We need to talk. There's more at stake than we realized. Clara's heart dropped. What more was out there, lurking at the edge of her family's past? She felt excitement mixed with fear. Would her mother's legacy stitch together a beautiful mosaic of truth, or would it shatter everything she thought she knew? Clara's apprehension swirled in her stomach as she glanced back at Emily, who wore an expression filled with equal parts determination and sympathy. The weight of Aunt Betty's words sank in, bringing a chill to the already tense air. There was more, and Clara knew she had to brace herself for it. Betty, what do you mean? Clara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Aunt Betty stepped inside, closing the door behind her, and Clara caught a flash of fear in her eyes, something that her aunt had always kept carefully concealed. It's about your mother's past, and not just the secrets Emily mentioned. There are people involved, people who could put you in danger. Clara felt the room grow smaller. Danger? Why didn't you tell me before? Betty shook her head, her brow knitting in anguish. We thought it was all over. We thought she'd moved on from that life. It was hard for us to comprehend. What life? Clara pressed, desperation creeping into her voice. Emily leaned forward, her voice low and steady. Your mother was part of a group that, well, it was not just a friendship. It was something deeper, darker. They made choices that entangled them with people who had motives, and believe me, it could hurt those she loved most, like you. Clara's breath hitched as vivid pictures formed inside her mind. A brave mother suddenly felt like a stranger. It was jarring. You mean all this time, I only knew the surface of who she was? A part of her's been hidden for your protection, Aunt Betty stated, her hands trembling as she clasped them together. We chose silence to shield you. It was the hardest thing we've done. Fury bubbled up inside Clara. She felt betrayed, tangled in emotions too complex to untangle just yet. You should have told me. She shouted, her voice echoing against the walls. I could have made my own choices. I could have known her better. Calm down, Clara, Emily said gently. This isn't about blame. This is about understanding. The truth isn't easy, but it's necessary to face it. Clara shook her head, tears of frustration pooling in her eyes. The floodgates opened, and she felt vulnerability bless her cheeks with warmth. What am I supposed to do? I want to know who she was, but what if that knowledge only brings more pain? Emily reached out, placing her hand on Clara's arm. Truth can bring pain, but it can also bring healing. You have to confront it head-on if you want to honor her memory. Aunt Betty stepped closer, her voice trembling. We'll be with you every step of the way, Clara. You aren't alone in this. We'll sift through this together. Clara stared at the two women before her, a sense of gratitude washing over her. Their support felt like the promising sunlight of dawn after a stormy night. Okay, she whispered, let's just hurry. I want to uncover everything. The air shifted as Clara braced herself for answers, but before they could continue, the sharp, loud echo of a knock reverberated against the wooden door. Each of them froze, exchanging wary glances. Clara's pulse quickened as Aunt Betty opened the door slightly, squinting into the darkness. "Who is it?" Clara felt the whisper hiss from her lips, a fragile sound filled with dread. "It's someone who claims to know your mother intimately," the voice answered, low and gravelly. A chill raced down Clara's spine. What new revelations awaited beyond the door? And could this stranger bring the missing pieces to the story that threatened to unravel everything she thought she knew? Clara's heart raced at the thought of an unknown outside, someone claiming to know her mother. Every instinct screamed to bolt, but she felt the support of Aunt Betty and Emily beside her. They were in this together, weren't they? "Wait." Clara called to Aunt Betty before she fully opened the door. "Do we even know who this is?" Her voice trembled with uncertainty, but a fierce determination bloomed inside her. If anyone was going to uncover her mother's secrets, it needed to be on her terms. "All I know is they said it's urgent," Aunt Betty replied, glancing back at Clara, her face drawn tight with worry. "Trust me, Clara. We're not in danger." With a deep breath, Clara nodded. This was the moment that could lead them closer to understanding her mother's choices. She felt both an urgency to know and a twinge of fear about what revelations could unfold. Aunt Betty drew the door open wider, revealing a tall figure cloaked in shadows, the dim light of the living room casting an eerie glow around them. The figure stepped forward, and Clara's breath caught. "Liam," the stranger said, his voice smooth yet wavering. Clara recognized the name in an instant. It was the name of her mother's long-lost love that had lingered in whispers she had overheard throughout her childhood. "I've come to help," he continued, his eyes meeting Clara's with an intensity that sent shivers down her spine. "Your mother wanted you to know the truth." "Who are you?" Clara demanded, her voice steady despite the storm of emotions swirling within her. "I was someone important to her," Liam replied, voice strained with unspoken pain. "Before she tried to bury that part of her life." "Why now?" Clara felt her pulse in her throat. "Why come here after all this time?" "Because she's in danger, Clara. The choices she made to protect you came at a cost. They've come back to haunt her." The room stilled, the gravity of his words crashing down on them. A sense of dread mixed with the flames of curiosity ignited within Clara. She felt the weight of her family's collective gaze resting on her, awaiting her decision. "Take a seat," Aunt Betty urged, pulling Clara out of her spiraling thoughts, "and tell us everything." Liam nodded, stepping fully into the light and taking a seat across from them. Under the warm glow of their living room, there was a silent understanding that this was the first step towards piecing together a legacy that had been shrouded in darkness. "I've watched over your family from afar," he began cautiously, glancing at each of them before returning his focus to Clara. "Your mom, she was caught in a web of loyalty and love. The life she led came with heavy burdens, and though she fought hard to create a better future for you, it's now falling apart." "What do you mean?" Clara felt her heart ache, fighting against the need to hear what her mother had faced and the instinct to shield herself from more heartbreak. Liam hesitated, composing his thoughts. "Years ago, when her love for me collided with her commitment to family, I made a choice, one that spiraled into chaos, causing more pain than either of us could ever anticipate. She chose you, Clara. Chose to protect you from everything I brought into her life." "Protect me from what?" Clara leaned closer, instinctively reaching for Emily's hand, needing the support of someone who understood the depth of her turmoil. "From people who would stop at nothing to get what they wanted, even if that meant targeting her loved ones," Liam replied, his voice grave. "Your mother made sacrifices, and in chasing her dreams, she created shadows that linger to this day. Shadows that could put you all in danger." The room crackled with tension as Clara processed his words. Every secret she thought she had uncovered seemed to multiply with every revelation. "I deserve to know everything," Clara's voice rang out, fierce and unwavering. "Not just pieces but the whole truth. If I can face my mother, I need to know what she sacrificed, what she lost." Liam nodded solemnly. Then let me share her story with you, the good and the bad, so you can decide how to move forward. I've been waiting for the right moment, and it seems today, on such a significant occasion, is fate's hand at work. The opportunity simmered in the air. Clara could feel the heat of unraveling her past coursing through her veins as she faced the uncertainty of the future. This was no longer just about her mother, it was about their whole family finding healing. Even amid the cracks, with unwavering resolve, Clara stood taller, tension solidifying into purpose. Tell me everything. If there's danger lurking, I won't run from it. I will fight for our family, your stories, my mother's truth. We'll face whatever comes next together. As her words echoed, the room blinked back into life, tensions loosening amid a collective sigh of solidarity. Each family member's gaze reflected strength and loyalty, all gathered around Clara's raw determination. The swirling uncertainties of secrets melted away, transforming into a bond forged in their shared resolve. With Liam prepared to share the stories that had long been hidden, Clara and her family braced themselves to dive deeper into the complex tapestry of love and loss that defined them. The unknown loomed ahead, but within Clara burned an unwavering flame of hope, a light that promised clarity and connection as they embarked on this journey together. "Let's do this," Clara whispered, knowing it was time to uncover everything and pave a path toward healing. As they began to delve into the depths of her mother's past, Clara felt invigorated by the strength of her family surrounding her. She now understood that love could both lift and burden, but together, they could rewrite the narrative that had once felt so fraught with fractures. It was undoubtedly time to heal, and at that moment, Clara knew whatever shadows stayed hidden, she would face them head-on, turning the chaos of their messy history into a unifying force that would bind them all together. Now, this is the moment for you. You need to subscribe now to the channel for more exclusive stories that could change your life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and see more heartfelt transformations like this one. Comment your thoughts and feelings about Clara's journey and the revelations waiting for her ahead. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to be inspired by the power of family and love. Your support matters, and we can't wait to see you in the next chapter.